We've got about, I think Chang Yau will probably need about 10 minutes to wrap up, and we have a 10 o'clock deadline. And so we got about 20 minutes right now, plus or minus 20 minutes, half an hour maybe. Yeah, just something to throw out there for us to consider, the differences between dialogue and debate. Okay? The distinction between dialogue and debate. Many times, some of us come from from a legal point of view, a very litigious society. The only way to come to a truth is you get a lawyer representing one side, whacking the other side, and a lawyer from that side whacking this side. Somewhere along the line, by this whacking process, the truth will emerge. That's one way, right? That's one way of doing things. Now, in non-Commonwealth countries, okay, like in Europe and Indonesia, that's not the way it's approached. You know, you've got the magistrate who comes from a position of actually making the inquiry and making the comments and doing the exploration, and then through that, they figure that the truth is going to surface in a more sort of a measured way. So there are different models, yeah? And again, just to remind us that, you know, when you debate, there is always the attempt to say one is right, the other must be wrong. And that's the framework. When I ask a question, when I actually listen, I listen with a view to rebut, not really with the view to understand. I'm not saying that this is the state of our group here, you know, but just to remind some of the things. Because in Singapore, you ask somebody the distinction, they say, "Oh, debate lah, same thing lah." That's why we shouldn't have a conversation, because that's a debate, you know. But this is a distinction as well, yeah. And we approach the question with a genuine desire to understand, rather than a desire to put down or to humiliate or insult. And this is what's the opinion out there. So with that spirit, just a quick reminder, I'm just wondering if people have comments, questions for both speakers, or not relating to that as well, but just on the issue. I'll let this gentleman come on first, because he's supposed to happening on the Senate. Maybe you and you, sir.
Hi. This is addressed it's a question for both of you that is open to both of you. So, as a humanist who grew up in the Muslim community, and having had a lot of friends who are still Muslims and such, one of the things that I feel is very distressing is this increasing wish to sort of give up your responsibility as a Muslim to someone else. You know, like, oh, I want someone else to make sure that there are as many halal places to eat as possible. I want someone else to be responsible for my own sort of religiosity. So how do you think we can sort of encourage people to reclaim that personal responsibility about their own religion? And how can we sort of like bring this discussion up into public? Because every time, again, as you mentioned, every time we try to have this conversation, either party, either on the atheist side or the religious side, are usually very uncomfortable. So how do you think we can create that safe space to get people to come together and openly say and not start judging one another?
Thank you for that one. Just a dipstick survey, right? Just a dipstick survey, and really you don't have to answer if you want. How many of you here in the last, say, I don't know, hour and a half or so, actually felt an ouch? Actually genuinely felt an ouch when things were said or not said or comment the way they were said? How many of you experienced an ouch? Put up your hand to really just get a sense of an ouch. You know, like you feel, it doesn't have to be said that way. Ouch, 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 ouch. There are quite a few ouches here. Right. Yeah. I'm not saying whether ouches are good or bad, but they are an indication that something is actually being engaged, yeah? But it's a quick one there, and then we have you, sir. It's good that we're having ouches.
First, I'd like to thank the two speakers. My name is Kelvin. I'll say I volunteer at the Humanist Society sometimes, but I don't like to define myself as a capital H humanist. Probably more like to call myself a small H humanist. Now, I mean, my personal training, I'm trained in social science, and sometimes it's a little bit bemusing to me to find people, you know, thinking there's a straight link between religiosity and, you know, some of the harms or the good things it causes. And I think in the social science, even there are, I mean, even one of the scientists that people admire a lot, now deGrasse Tyson, right? He says physics is easy because, you know, you can, most of the time you can have two variables, one direct relationships. But when it comes to society or communities and all that, things are a lot more multifactorial, and there's a lot of path dependency. So I think there has to be a little bit of an epistemic humility in that, there's no such thing as a single cause or deterministic in that sense. And I think another comment I want to make is that for people who likes to believe that they are really objective, based on science and certain principles and all that, right? Now even Heidegger, right, shows that, a person who is part of society cannot really abstract themselves and think from an Arcadian point and has some kind of principles that are, totally objective and all that. That I think I reject, yeah. And when it comes to identity politics, right, I think there are certain studies in the social science that can contribute to our understanding of group dynamics. Like, if you look at Robert's case study and the standard prison environment, right? Most of the time people think that it's just a battle between two groups. It's only when they kind of like extract and they look at it, right? There's also the experimental that forget to account for. And so, I mean, what I'm trying to point to is that, there are certain power structures, right, that exist, right, out of this group difference. It may be fruitful for us to look at who are the ones who are crafting the message, and I mean, who are the ones that are actually kind of like directing people against other groups. This kind of divide and rule strategies. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. You should have an answer.
I'm back.
You're back, Mike.
Okay. I wanted to make a last statement that actually is very important to me. I'm very often called a non-believer. And that's an interesting statement, because I do believe. I do believe in humanity. I do believe that most of the people here are very good people. I do believe in love and care. And I do believe in sharing and my responsibility to take care of everybody around me. Ever. So, as an atheist or maybe a humanist, I believe in taking care of humanity. I also believe that whatever your religion, you have more in common with me than we have differences. And I think that's important. As long as you keep that, as long as you see the human and not the institute, there will be a dialogue. From the moment that the institute becomes more important, and by the way, that's not only for religion, that's also for being a militant atheist or a militant politician or PMP. Something that takes total control, then you get blinded. And that's what I think should be avoided in any situation. And I'm very happy to see you two discussing. Thank you very much.
Again, thank you very much for organizing this dialogue. I'd like to answer the question. I'd like to focus on the question, how can atheism and religion coexist, by addressing the other issue about religion, which is the proliferation of religion. What I think as a humanist atheist is how religion can simply morph so quickly. So you have latter religions that come in and say, well, I think Christ went to the States and they met some natives, so let's call that our religion. So another one comes now, is called the Prosperity Church, and so that's my religion. So I'd like to suggest, can we bring some Singapore pragmatism to this? Can we have a certificate of enlightenment? So, we limit the number of religions. So I think that's not one way that we can kind of coexist better. So the big problem with religion is anybody can set something up, cite the big guy up there as my cow son. He's the guy backing me up, but this is my interpretation. So let's maybe just limit it. So maybe to 5 religions, and let's just let them fight it out, including atheism. All right? Who votes the most gets the same tax deductions, and the rest of you fall out of the leagues. All right? So my suggestion. Thank you.
Right. You did put up an answer, then maybe over here.
Hi, my name is Henry. I think a lot of this discussion around here centers around rights. The human mind is very powerful. You're allowed to believe anything you want in your own time and space. And what you bring up about proliferation of religion is important. Because what we have now is government dispensing favors. Government because government they have no moral guide, so they look for so they look into religion. Maybe you can help me out. So the problem is government dispensing favors. So much so that atheism, we have to band together under a humanist society to fight for this political power. So the main focus here is on rights, about how much the religious people respect our rights. And I think government shouldn't have any hand in it. That's period. So a question is that do any of you guys think that ethics and morality exist outside of religion?
Of course, precedes religion.
I think it do, because why? Because sometimes religion is an escape of morality, and that is the very big problem.
Yeah. Yeah, just two things. Yeah. First, I'm gonna invite or highlight the fact that a lot of these comments come from the humanist society, and I'm just wondering why the people of faith in this room actually haven't spoken up. It's the elephant in the room, you know. While I am applauding the enthusiasm for the members of the humanist society, I'm inviting this, taking this opportunity to actually bring that, you know.
Maybe you should
and
respond
one
first
of the
before taking
reasons
2
why
minutes.
I'm bringing that here is
Okay,
that it
all
needs
right,
to be a
sure.
balanced kind of a discussion. Also, and that's why the reason I asked for the ouch.
Okay, and then bring it back here.
Yeah, okay. The ouch, because perhaps, and I'm guessing, tell me I'm wrong, that there are ouches, there are discomfort, and then we need to understand this, because if we don't, this dialogue ain't gonna happen anymore. We're just gonna be speaking to the people that we are used to speaking to, both on all sides. So I'm gonna ask, if you had an ouch and you put up your hand, would you like to share what that ouch was or is? And perhaps, you know, maybe we can be more informed when we do this a bit further on. Anyone? Okay.
I'm gonna try.
Okay.
I actually identify myself as agnostic, strangely, but I'm going to try and defend religion here.
Thank you.
Because I was raised in a Catholic faith, but now I'm agnostic. It just means that I don't really know whether there's God exists or doesn't. But I think that we are the humanist people have a lot of misconceptions of religious people. And I think one of them is that religion is non-progressive and it's non-critical and it's static. Actually, a lot of okay, I'll speak for my personal perspective. Even as a somewhat religious person, I don't believe that the Bible is absolute truth. I don't believe that morality only comes from the Bible. Because I read the Bible with a historical critical lens, which is what the modern theologians are trying to do, to understand where, when, why each chapter of the Bible was written by whom, for what reason. So it's a collection, and realize that the Bible is full of contradictions. And we accept the contradictions as the Bible's collection of writings of people who are searching for God. That's all. And it's full of contradictions, and you're right. Because it's full of contradictions, it can't be true. It can't be, everybody can't be, everything in the Bible can't be absolute truth. But there are lessons we can learn from it.
Please give me answer first before you open up again.
And sometimes what religious people say is hijacked by
on the religious side.
so for example, the example you gave about the bishop saying that going for Madonna concert is evil. I don't think he was making the comment saying that going for a Madonna concert is universally evil. He was addressing it specifically to Catholics and saying that, you know, Catholics have moral duty not to go for it because some of the things that she does is sacrilegious. So, for example, dancing around the crucifix and deliberately being sacrilegious. It's about mutual respect here. And if we want to create a common space, then I think religious people and non-religious people have to work on how can we be respectful to other religions and not be sacrilegious. So, yeah,
It's Elizabeth.
just think that there's a lot of assumptions there.
Yeah. the speakers have said that they like to respond to some of these things, but somebody else from the faith side, Kat, do you want to say something? No, don't want to? Anyone? Going once, twice?
I'm not a person of faith, but can I say something?
That's only because it's got a lot of questions on this side and we need a bit more on that side.
Okay, thank you. So I'm not a person of faith, neither am I a member of the Humanist Society. But just building on the questions that was raised earlier, and building on Imran's point of saying that you want to create people of faith and people without faith to be equal citizens and creating a common space, respecting each other. I want to say, what's your assessment of our common space now, and how do we proceed to ensure that everyone, that there is this equal citizenship? Because, you know, we still have some laws in our books, like for example, section 298 of the Penal Code, which criminalizes the wounding of religious feelings, the Sedition Act. I mean, Maintenance of Racial Harmony Act. You know, we have countless laws that may sort of restrict our freedom to speak freely about this issue. And I think about 3 years ago, Hui Fen from the Humanist Society, together with John, I think from NUS, wrote an article, Secularism in Singapore, on the New Age Humanist UK website, and I just cited this section of the law, section 298 of the Penal Code, right, which criminalizes the wounding of religious feelings, and saying that, oh, this is something that impedes free discussion on this issue. And I think, so I'd like to hear from the President of Humanist Society, so firstly from Imran as well, the Humanist Society, do you feel restricted in Singapore when you try to talk about issues of religion or try to promote humanism? Do you feel that there is this climate of fear, for example, that you might one day overstep the line and get prosecuted? And in this climate in Singapore, what is your plan to promote humanism? Thank you.
Okay, great. You say